And joining me now is Ömer Faruk Akbal, who is the chairman of the Turkey-Jordan Business Council here in Istanbul, and Necmettin Kaymaz, who is the chief project director at Invest in Turkey, which is also based in Istanbul. Gentlemen, welcome to Straight Talk. It's good to have you on the set. So Turkey loosened investment requirements for foreigners to obtain Turkish passports, and many have signed up. Faruk, I want to start with you. How have the results been so far?
Actually, Turkey has been always a very important location for the international investments, especially for real estate investments. Turkey is doing a really good job. Recently, we have achieved more than 70% higher than 2018 in the first half of the year in 2019. But when you compare with these numbers, the countries that Turkey is competing, just like European countries, just like UK, Spain, or UAE, when you compare with these countries, Turkey has a lot of more way to progress.
I believe some EU countries generated like 25 billion euros in the last 10 years. So what do you say? Are these figures better than expected in your point?
These figures are important for us that it's showing a progress. So it's going well. But when you compare what is the achievement, real achievements for Turkey, especially the potential of Turkey is here very important. When you are speaking about the 80 million population with a growing economy in terms of location, geographical situation, and all the cultural and the historical potential that Turkey has, when you look at from this perspective to the numbers, it's not enough.
Yeah, okay. So it's quite a new project, by the way,
definitely.
Right? So Necmettin, is this a temporary policy or it will become permanent?
Well, in fact, it is not a temporary, it's not a new, and it is an old policy, and it has been a policy which has been followed by the government over the past 15, 16 years. You know, when we look at the
but its promotion just started like that,
no,
right?
It was always in a progress. You know, and we started in 2003. To improve our investment climate in order to attract investment into real estate, in property markets into Turkey. And then we saw back in 2003, $1 billion investment coming from just from property purchases. Then the government further in 2012 made a new amendment to the existing legislation to in order to attract more investment into property sector. And that was the reciprocity principle requirement was significantly loosened so that we can attract more property buyers from all around the world. And then in 2017, citizenship was granted for real estate buyers and as well as for some investors. And then further in 2018, the government again reduced the requirements for real estate purchase for other investment types, and the government is committed to attract foreign direct investment into Turkey.
Yeah, we're going to get on that.
Definitely.
Because it's very important to have a foreign direct investment in Turkey. But Faruk, I understand this policy will stay in place and the numbers will continue to rise. So what sorts of long-term trends we're likely to see?
I'm again going to give an example from the Europe. When you look at the UK, the 10% of the property investments are through the foreigners. It has been done.
Yes.
So this number is almost less than 1% of the properties are owned by foreigners in Turkey. So when you look at from this perspective, so I believe that we have potential to reach 10% of properties to be invested by foreigners, which is very important for us to bring the directly the investments to Turkey.
Yeah, so Iranians made up the largest group of investors who were granted Turkish citizenship as we look. So could US sanctions be because of this? And why people from Iran, Iraq, of course, Yemen, Afghanistan, and Syria choose Turkey?
There are many reasons to choose Turkey, but first and foremost, I think Turkey itself is an attractive destination for many nationals from around the world to invest in and to buy property. As regards with the nationals from Middle Eastern countries, but there might be some reasons, as you mentioned, but there are also countries, nations from other countries, from China, from UK, from other countries are also investing in Turkey, and also some of them are also acquiring and applying for citizenship. There are many reasons. I think it's a whole package. It's the country itself, its people, its culture, it's the investment ecosystem, as well as it is integration with the rest of the world.
So, I mean, we see these investors are not just looking for a Turkish passport or Turkish citizenship, and they are thinking in the long term. If they are thinking in the long term, what kind of opportunities Turkey offers?
Now, first, as Farooq said, Turkey is a large country with 82 million people. It's a growing young population. It's vibrant. And when you look at its industrial base, its industrial infrastructure, Turkey, you will see that Turkey is the only country in this region which pretty much produce everything,
So which sectors come to the fore?
Lots of sectors, and that's my point indeed, It has a diversified economy. We are not a natural resource country. We don't depend, unfortunately, we don't have any primary natural resource like oil and gas. That's why we had to, and we have to diversify our economy. But it's not a new process. It started decades ago, and now we are seeing the consequence of those policies, and that's why we're seeing, for example, Turkey is one of the largest manufacturer of automotive manufacturer in the world. It's also one of the largest manufacturer of electrical machinery. It's active in other areas: aerospace, defense, real estate, as we are talking about, infrastructure, finance. It's a well-diversified economy, and it's also well integrated with the rest of the world, with the European in terms of legislation. It has aligned its business legislation with the international standards and norms.
So, Farooq, in the first half of 2019 alone, properties worth $3 billion were sold to foreigners. So what kind of an impact it had on the market?
Which is equal to almost 20,000 units. When you compare with the when the expectation for second half of the year is always more than the first half of the year. So when we look at these numbers, we are expecting more than 50,000 units to be sold to purchased by the foreigners.
So you think that this trend will continue?
Yeah, the total revenue also, it's expected to be more than $6 billion.
So, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me on Straight Talk. Appreciate it a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.